Hello and welcome to round 3 of the Apex Online Racing Formula C Championship on Project Cars 2. We are of course in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. Classic place, classic track, amazing racing always had here in Formula 1, and we're hoping to see it today in Formula C as well. It's a cloudy day here. I'm joined in the box by Mr. JP McKinley. How are we doing today?
Not too bad, buddy. How are things with you?
Very, very good. Excited for this one again this week after every round so far. The pre-season and round 1 at Rapuna and round 2 at Monza. There's been incredible racing by these drivers. The mid-pack has been especially close. People jumping for position, and the reverse grid just making things really spicy for race 2.
Yeah, like if tonight's races are, excuse me, if tonight's races are a tenth as good as what any of the races have been before, we're in for a hell of a great night. Some of the battling, as you were saying, was absolutely fantastic in the previous races. But yeah, a little bit of drama who has already happened tonight in qualifying is that Keyboard Blondie and Uni have been given a one-place grid penalty because of speeding in the pit lane.
That will not help their chances. Uni, I don't believe, has started a race so far, so this is the first time we'll be seeing Uni tonight. But Keyboard Blondie will be a bit upset losing that one position, but it's not the end of the world. It's even a sprint race, 14 laps, a lot of time to make that back up. But even bigger news is that we are missing one Yogurt tonight and his teammate Crab, the Latvian pair. Apparently there's a holiday in Latvia. Happy holidays, Latvia.
Yeah.
So they will not be joining us tonight, which is going to open things up a little bit in the championship.
Yeah, for definite. Yogurt sitting in P4 and Crab. I thought Crab would be doing better. He's only down in P12 in the championship, but definitely two of the big hitters for the championship. But Yogurt and definitely, I'm surprised he's only in 4th. But he has won 2 races, but this first feature race of Monza, the huge shock where he went down to 3 wheels and out of the race, and when he was in the lead, it was his first DNF of the season.
It was indeed. It was not great to see when that tyre came flying off, ending the battle between him and Strongest Avenger. That was going to go to the end of that race if there wasn't the collision, and it would have been great to see, but hopefully next week they'll both be back and battling it out. In other news for qualifying, Speedy Go, due to an incident in round 1, I believe, has a qualifying ban. So another fast guy, we know he's quick, top 5 contender for sure, not able to qualify in this session, which is why he is sitting in the pit lane.
Yeah, a little incident that happened in round 1 of which was Rapuna. Just got a little bit aggressive on Ticklish, and the stewards decided to punish him quite severely because he didn't get to actually finish the race. But yeah, this is the stewards handing out the rules, making people be punished. But here we are, currently sitting on pole. We got WRC Animal with a 1 minute 32.6. I'm pretty sure everyone can improve on their times right now. It's a decent time, but it's not overly fast. We got Big Wilk, who is sitting 5th in the championship. It's a great run so far in the championship, sitting in P2. And Boris, who I'm actually surprised because in the pre-season testing, he didn't seem to have a great great races, but Boris is sitting P2 in the championship, which is a fantastic outing so far. His worst was 7th, and the rest have been 4th and 3rds.
Yeah, Boris doing a great job. Not someone that we've seen ourselves before in AOR, so great to see some guys coming back or racing for the first time as well. But Boris showing that he can battle with the best of them, and he's currently P2 in the championship. But leading the championship at the moment is As Turbo on 136 points. So he's sitting up there pretty. Not had a race win yet, but you don't need to win races if you're consistent, and that's what As Turbo has proved so far this season.
Yeah, out of the first four races, he's been on the podium 3 times. Consistency really is key in this championship, with how easily it is to pick up damage in these cars. It really is. If you can just get to the end, you're going to be pretty much guaranteed good points. Especially when like for the likes of Yogurt, who was battling for the win and it was taken away from him, and he ended up getting no points from it. But here we are, As Turbo, right behind Boris in qualifying. They clearly didn't leave himself enough space to go on his flyer, and now this is probably costing him.
Yeah, I believe that's actually Voodoo ahead of him, not Boris, at the moment, with the red tip on his car. Boris has just a little white tip on it, slight differences. But yeah, As Turbo there being held up a little bit by Voodoo. And not leaving himself space for the next lap either. Maybe he thinks he can get past on the straights to start his next flying lap. But so far, Big Wilk taking that pole position away from WRC Animal. As Turbo third, and he's still side by side with Voodoo into turn 1. Compromising both their laps there, which isn't ideal.
Yeah.
See in the background there, one of the Celtic Romance Alpha boys coming around together, Clank and Mr. Ferret. Clank actually winning a race last night in the ACC GT3 League, so we'll see if he can repeat that tonight with Yogurt out the picture. It's looking more likely than before.
Yeah, he's definitely a very quick guy. One of the Celtic Bromance. He's one of our own. But there's no preferences, obviously, but there is slightly.
Got nothing to do with the fact that we have 2 Celtic Bromance teams here tonight, but we'll look past that and we'll try and be as unbiased as we can when it comes to the racing, which I'm sure we are every week.
Yeah.
As Turbo going back to the pits, maybe making some, well, I can't make any adjustments, so might be trying the loose or stable setups and coming out again on some fresh tyres, but Stefan Carey now with his actual name for once. Not some ridiculous name in the game, so Stefan Carey's currently sitting in P11, and seems to abandon this lap.
Yeah, he's abandoned this lap. He's going to try and make sure he's got the room for his next flying lap. Pretty smart thing to do, because he can be pretty quick, like sitting P6 in the championship. Even though we're going slow, we go slightly off the track, but that's just how Carey likes to drive.
I'm sure it's calculated.
Yeah, it's all a part of the plan. But yeah, another Celtic Romance driver. It seems like we're concentrating on these for this last few laps. But WRC Martin sitting now in P7. Not had the best of championships so far. Kinda, the first round wasn't too great for him with Rapuna, but Monza seemed to go quite well. He got 2 6th places out of it. But yeah, sitting now in P7 in qualifying, and let's see if this lap can, if he can improve as he turns into turn 4. As he gets a bit drifty going around turn 5. He probably would have lost a bit of time there.
Yeah, he's got to find 1.3 seconds to get himself on the front row, but that's not going to help him at all there, coming around turn 6, very sideways, and keeping out the barriers at least so we can get around for another lap, but the tyres will not be happy about that move.
Yeah, I think that lap's been abandoned. But we'll jump back up to the front runners to see what these guys are doing. Boris is only 0.132 behind pole. So the gap at the front is incredibly close between the top 3. Big Wilk, Boris and WRC Animal.
Yeah, just 0.145 separating the 3 of them. It's going to be a very, very tight dash for this pole position as we get to the last 5 minutes of qualifying. See if Boris can improve now as he comes down around the long sweeping turn 4, and a bit laggy there, but we'll let him off. I believe he's in America, so again it's one of the Celtic Bromance guys going off there. We won't mention that too much. Either Mr. Ferret or Clank there from Celtic Bromance.
I believe it was Enema. No, I believe it was Enema. Yeah, it was Enema.
Some of these liveries are very, very similar to each other. Silver instead of white on this car.
That's alright, you've corrected me once so far, now I've corrected you. So we're even Steven so far for tonight.
But let's go back to Boris and see how he's doing. He's just about to come over the line around now. Can he improve? Can he take pole back from Big Wilk? Cannot
No,
that
he
lap.
doesn't. Where's Big Wilk sitting? As he comes around the final lap, can he improve?
Just came up on my screen that he did a fastest lap, but I guess that message was delayed because he hasn't crossed the line yet. And there he comes across, and now he's a second down on that lap, so time to be had somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely so easy to ruin your lap at the first corner because if you even look at the AstroTurf on the exit of turn 1, that your whole lap's invalidated. It's so easy on Project Cars 2 to just ruin your lap. The track limits are really quite vicious on this game.
Yeah, but at the same time it's equal for everyone, so everyone has the same track limits, everyone's got the same white lines to drive between, so it's about knowing where they are and pushing them as best you can to get the best lap in, and Big Wilk's going to lose a ton of time with that drifting there around turn 4.
Yeah, it's a shame because he was almost a 10th up on his fastest lap, but he won't be now. But we'll have a look at As Turbo. Let's see where he is. Yeah, he's coming around turn 5 now, going into turn 6. As can he bridge the gap? He's got to find half a second somewhere to get it up onto pole. He is one of the fast guys. He's leading the championship. He won't want to be starting too far down, even though 4th isn't too bad, but higher up the better. Out to get away from the midfield, because the midfield is so tight. Here we go, across the line. He improves, but he doesn't improve enough. He stays 4th.
Yeah, he gained about a 10th there, but not enough to get him up the field any further. But I think he'll be happy with a 4th position to start off this race. It's second row of the grid, easy enough to break away with the front of the pack here. But looking at the rest of the field though, Clank's put himself now into P5, got within a second of Big Wilk's time, but if we're looking down, we got from, well, basically 5th down to about 12th, 13th, all within a second of each other, so it's going to be looking like it's going to be some close racing again.
Yep, for sure. This is just going to be the same as the previous 2 races. The midfield is going to be incredibly tight, and we are going to be out of breath commentating on them. Yeah,
going to be interesting to see on lap 1 coming into that hairpin of very much a pinch point on this track when it comes to bunching up. So hopefully these guys can keep it clean around there and carry it on for the rest of the race.
Yeah, we could just see Stefan Carey there getting a bit loose coming around the final turn. He's currently in 14th, but he's jumped up to P11. But you can only think that there's a lot more time for Carey there to be gaining.
Yeah, he's had a couple of 5th and 6th places in the previous races so far, so expect him to be qualifying up near that position again. But currently P11 is the best he can achieve, but we'll see if he's more of a racer than a qualifier.
Yeah, and our pole sitter Big Wilk has decided he's had enough of qualifying and he's retired to the pits. He says he can't do any more. So Boris and As Turbo are on their laps, but we're having a look at Clank as he comes across the line. He's got the slipstream. Can he improve? No, he doesn't improve. But that's qualifying over. Where's As Turbo?
As Turbo's still on a lap. He has, in fact, As Turbo improved on a previous lap. He's currently within 0.159, sorry. So the top 4 separated by less than 2/10 in qualifying.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a battle for the two front rows.
See when he comes over the sector marker now, just coming into turn 7. He is up on his time. So can As Turbo disrupt the front row of this grid? Just got to keep it clean for the final 2 corners now, turn 9 and 10.
Will he dare to take the exit curb and try and carry the speed through, or will he be conservative? Oh, he's almost lost it on the second last corner. He will have lost time. But how much time has he lost? He comes across the line, he will be absolutely gutted with that there, but that's invalidated.
No, it hasn't.
Oh, it's not on pole.
He stuck it on pole on the last lap.
Fantastic stuff from Ass Turbo.
That was great to see him there pushing right to the line on that last closing seconds of qualifying. Managing to grab pole position and drop Big Wilk, Boris and WRC Animal back in position as qualifying is over.
Fantastic stuff there, as you see. Ass Turbo grabbing pole position. P2, we've got Big Wilk. P3, Boris, WRC Animal in 4th. Oz Dunder in 5th. Clank in 6th. Keyboard Blondie in 7th. Ticklish Pickle Wickle in 8th. Great qualifying from him. Darephile in 9th. And in P10, you got MWDR Martin.
And further down the order, we have 11th is Stefan Carey, followed by Enema in 12th, and the screen has now moved over, but we have 13th is JJ, 14th is Voodoo, 15th Uni, 16th is Cameron B. Mr. Ferret dropped in 17th, and Speedy Go, who was unable to qualify due to a incident in previous races, is starting from the back of this grid. It'll be interesting to see how far up the order he can make it.
Yeah, definitely. Speedy Go is one of the faster guys in this. I think he'd be pretty good at with. Obviously, you would be good at having to not qualify, but it definitely does something for us to keep an eye on during the race, because he is one of the fast guys. Then again, everyone here is incredibly fast, and as well, I haven't seen Strongest Avenger in this qualifying, so I don't believe Strongest Avenger's turned up, so this race is wide open for everyone.
Very, very true. So our two top contenders, I believe you'd call them, not here today, so Ass Turbo has a chance to extend that lead, and Boris has a chance to go with him as well, sitting in first and second in the championship so far. But it's going to be interesting to see these front rows, who's going to get round turn 1 first, who's going to get the run off this line when this race gets underway.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be scary for the guys in front, hoping if they don't get rear-ended, but obviously the guys at the back are going to be wanting to make moves. But I don't know. Who's your money on for this race?
After that qualifying, it's it's very tough to say, but as we sync up now, the engines are starting up. The red lights are on. 3, 2, 1, and we are green light racing as they head down towards turn 1. A great start there by Ass Turbo in the front row. They both, all the front rows seem to have gotten away very well there. Seem to enter and the same order they went in, but no, Big Wilkes made it on the inside, and Ass Turbo has compromised his exit, which has allowed WRC Animal through as well. So Ass Turbo going from pole to 3rd in turn 1 as they head down towards the first hairpin.
Yeah, but look at the effect of the slipstream. Ass Turbo is going to try and have a look around the outside, but WRC Animal closes the door, and now Ass Turbo will have a look up the inside on the cutback. But everyone seems to make it through the first 2 or 3 laps, sorry, 2-3 corners pretty cleanly so far. Fantastic stuff.
They do indeed, but they are 2 wide coming down now, nearly 3 wide into turn 4. WRC Animal taking a wider line around Big Wilk, making it stick by the looks of it. We'll see how he gets the exit. He's on the grass though, that's going to compromise him a little bit, but I believe he's going to get the run now on Big Wilk into turn 6 on the inside. And that move is secure. WRC Animal making his way to first place. Great opening lap.
Fantastic stuff. He had a slightly better start from P4, but yeah, this is just what he'd be wanting to be leading the race after before they even finished lap 1. And I do believe Uni is at the back. Must have had an issue with someone, as there's a crash. Camera's off in the gravel.
Yeah, Cameron B getting himself back on. With a Uni, like you say before, following round, but a few cars going wide on that last corner there. As a single file train herring up the hill towards turn 1. We got WRC Animal in the lead, followed by Big Wilk, followed by Ass Turbo, then Boris, And Clank made his way up to P5, which I'm not sure. Where is Aussie Dunder's down to P11, I believe. He started on P5 ahead of Clank, so he's dropped down the order quite rapidly from the start here. But Asturbo's made a move into P2. And yeah, he got the move done. That must have been done in the hairpin just there. So Asturbo now. And Boris is around Big Wilk too. So Big Wilk lost 2 positions there in one corner.
Yeah, and our boy Clank is right on the back of them now.
Yeah, his first pack of 5 cars has broken away a little bit away from the rest of the field. But the more they battle, the less that gap's
Boris
gonna be.
making a slight mistake, and Clank has jumped up to P4.
This just being the sprint race, we're only 14 laps in this race, and it'll be a reverse top 10 grid for the feature race. So they will be battling quite ferociously for the positions here to get ahead before the end of that 14 laps. It's not a long time to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Every man will be getting their elbows out and not want to let anyone past. This is a sprint. It's not an endurance. Let's get let's get the laps done quickly as possible. That's what they'll all be thinking. Yeah,
WRC Animal now making a bit of a break away from second place with a 1.5 second gap now from P2 of Asturbo, who's followed closely by Big Wilk, and then another little gap towards Clank and Boris. Boris now looking to make a move as they head down towards the hairpin. We've got Stefan Carey also up to P7, looking to make it P6 next to WMDR Martin.
Yeah, he's going to try and have a look around the outside. Clank had a bit of a bad exit coming out of turn 1, and that invited Boris to try and have a go around the outside of turn 3, but it couldn't make it stick. And now Carey is right behind Boris. It's a 3-way train. WRC Animal is, or sorry, not WMD Martin is behind, but Clank doing his best to defend. Carey going up on the inside of Boris, but he gets a little bit squirrely, but Boris holds it around the outside, and Carey goes up the inside to take the position, but Boris is on the inside as they're side by side in the middle sector, as Carey has the racing line around the outside, but Boris again holds the inside, but Carey carries it around the outside. Fantastic move from Carey there.
WMDR Martin now looking at Boris. Some great racing in the mid-pack as we expected. WMDR Martin looking to the inside of Boris and Stephen Carey, 2 in 1 corner. As Carey's off wide on the track, pushed a little wide by Martin. I'm not sure if there's any contact there, but Martin has made that position up. If he ended up pushing, I believe he'd give that position back, so I assume he did that safely and cleanly, and Carey just lost it on his own. But Carey now looking on the inside, going up to turn 1, and he's going to get that move done.
Keyboard Blondie spinning at turn 1, he got slightly squirrely under the brakes as he tries to spin it round and get going again. But for the viewers that are watching, Stefan Carey and WMD Martin are actually teammates. Carey is in a different livery tonight. These are actually teammates. Could you imagine being the team leader? You'd be on the pit wall, your feet would be shaking like crazy with these two guys going side by side around the track for about 2 laps straight.
And Boris is just waiting in the wings for a mistake or contact to happen, but Boris having to brake heavily there as Stefan Carey takes the inside line and has to brake to not drift wide into Martin. But these guys battling very hard very early in this race, but they need to in the sprint race. That needs to happen. But they have been side by side for this entire lap now so far, as Carey has secured the place ahead of WMDR Martin. But I don't think this is over yet. We're only 4 laps into this 14 lap race.
You could see that battle that they were doing, that has let Clank and P4 run away and have a 2-second gap now between him and Carey. But we're going to jump up to P2, and the battle for P2 between Asturbo and Big Wilk has closed the gap on Asturbo. He's in the slipstream as they head up to turn 1. He won't be able to, isn't close enough to make a move, but if he can get a good exit out of this turn, which I don't believe he did, but Asturbo again slightly, he will be looking in the mirrors coming up to turn 3.
Yeah, still points on the table. I believe it's the same amount of points for the sprint race as the feature race, so these guys are battling for very important championship points, not just qualifying position for the next race. So As Turbo leading from Big Wilk for P2 and 3, and Clank's a bit of no man's land at the moment, but I'm sure he'll be happier to have fresh air around him than be involved in the battle behind him for P5.
Yeah, and we can see two people in the pits. That's Mr. Ferret and Keyboard Blondie in the pits, which is unfortunate in the sprint race. That means that they will be well down the field, unfortunately. But yeah, I want. This battle that we're seeing here for P2 is going to be WRC Animal will be loving this, because this is just letting him pull away. The gap is up to now 2.5 seconds almost from him to P2.
Yeah, WRC Animal showing great race pace, getting himself into the lead after the first lap, starting from the second row of the grid, and managed to pull
just look how close Big Wilk is now as they cut across the line. Surely he's going to have a look into turn 1.
You'd think, and
He's
he
having a
does.
look. He's decided better of it to pull back in and just make Ass Turbo sweat that another lap longer. He's had a decent exit out of turn 1. He's going to be in the slipstream the whole way up now to turn 3. But I don't think he's close enough. I think Ass Turbo's just done enough again to keep the position.
Yeah, it seems As Turbo's got this under control so far. As Big Wilk tries to apply the pressure, but As Turbo, not an easy nut to crack.
Yeah, for sure. And now WRC Animal is coming up to a back marker. That is the back marker of Mr. Ferret in front, who's just come out of the pits.
Yeah, we'll have the blue flags out, hopefully make it easy for these lead drivers to get round. But we've seen in the past back markers make things more difficult than they should sometimes, but we hope not to see that today.
They're well versed in getting out of blue flags, getting out of the way, as the battle for P5 has been brought back to our screens. You got WMDR Martin, Boris and Carrie, as Ticklish has joined the party. Ticklish is now on the back of Boris as they head into turn 8.
Yes, great clean racing by these guys. WMDR Martin taking the inside line, compromising his line a little bit into the last corner, but hopefully not too much that Boris can make the run into turn 1 now as he comes down the start-finish line.
Yeah, you can see Ticklish in the background having a bit of a lock-up, hoping to not run into the back of Boris. Just being a bit more conservative on the braking as Martin goes slightly wide. Will lose time here to Boris.
Yeah, with these track limits, turn 1 can be an especially evil place to go wide on, pick up a track penalty there, but everyone seems to be pretty clean so far, only Cameron B being the only guy to pick up a penalty. As we see Big Wilk side by side with As Turbo into turn 4.
As Turbo. He's going around there instead of As Turbo. Oh, he's almost made it stick, but As Turbo just holds the position.
Yeah, I believe he got a bit of a power oversteer out of the corner and ended up making contact, so had to yield the position back and tuck in behind, but some great racing by these guys. Pushing each other to their limits.
Fantastic racing so far. And here we see it again, the battle for P5. Carey, Martin, Boris, Ticklish, Speedy Go, a guy who wasn't able to qualify, is up to P9, and JJ right behind. Once again, we've got a hell of a big train right in the midfield, and it's a lottery who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, for Speedy Go to make it from the back of the grid up to P9 is amazing stuff, but we'll see as we're halfway through this race now whether we can make it anywhere up this train of cars we got coming down the start-finish straight now. The train being led by Stefan Carey, who's lost a bit of ground again now to WMDR Martin. He did pull a little, it's about a second gap, but he's lost it again now, so...
Yeah, Martin is closing the gap on Carey. I wonder if Carey is struggling with turn 1 as Martin goes to have a look.
I think that's more Martin defending against Boris more than anything, as Boris tried to look on the inside and Martin blocked him off. So it's a tough situation for Martin to be in. He wants to attack Harry, but any attack he makes that fails, Boris is there to just claim that position back from him. So
as Gary has a slight lock-up. Gary's had a slight lock-up, and that's gonna... And Boris is locking up the inside of Martin. They're side by side. As Martin has the inside lane, as Boris will go around the outside. As Martin claims the racing line, but will he leave room? He does leave room. But he will have the inside lane for this corner as well, and Boris will have to slip back in behind.
Yeah, Boris not quite finding the gap there, but poking wherever he can. Looking to the outside line now as they come around the final two corners, but Martin seems to have the advantage and the racing line, so he should be able to pull away a little bit here.
And I do believe that the leaders had a moment, and he's weaving just so that the Ass Turbo and Big Wilk doesn't get closer. But look at Big Wilk on Ass Turbo. Big Wilk's had a hell of a drive out of turn 1, and he's up the inside of Ass Turbo. And Ass Turbo drops to P3, and he's almost done into the back of the gearbox as he tries to get the cut back.
Yeah, great move there by Big Wilk to claim that position, but now WRC Animal, as you say, must have had some sort of moment as he's dropped to within a second now of P2, so this race for the lead is all but over, far from over even.
Yeah, 5 laps remain in this race, and the battle for P1 is ongoing. We will not know until we cross the line who's winning this race. It's definitely what I was saying earlier. It's almost like winning the Euro Millions. Who's going to win this race? You just don't know.
We can see on the delta there even the timing of the previous lap. WRC Animal a 134.6, Big Wilk doing a 133.2. So somewhere 1.4 seconds was lost for WRC Animal.
Yeah, Big Wilk's now. He's got the bit between his teeth. He's got WRC Animal right in his crosshairs. As WRC Animal goes wide, he's slightly on the grass. Surely Big Wilk's going to have a better drive out of the final turn. He's going to be in the slipstream now. If he doesn't even make it out into this corner, he'll eventually make the gap up, and maybe have a look up to turn 3. But Big Wilk absolutely having a hell of a drive. Heading up now to turn 3. Yeah, it's as you were, as WRC Animal has a huge moment, and Big Wilk will be right on him now.
Yeah, WRC Animal's exit was pretty poor there, so trying to break the toe, try and line up his turn 4, so Big Wilk doesn't have a chance to make it around, and does manage to save the position there. Big Wilk breaks very late, it's very deep there, manages to bring it back, but as Turbo now edges closer. Again, being the middleman in this is not where you want to be. If you try and attack and get it wrong, you're going to lose that P2 to P3.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a tricky place to be, but you'd rather be P2 than P3 come the end of the race, so you may as well chance your arm and have a go. And WRC Animals had a moment coming through the middle sector as Big Wilk has a look up the inside of turn 9. And he's got the move made before we were even there. Big Wilk, your new race leader.
And that's Animal going very wide and slidey everywhere. What's going to happen here now with Ass Turbo chasing him down? Is that going to be enough? I don't believe it is up to turn 1, but it believes Big Wilk into turn 1 at least from any pressure. But a great move there by Big Wilk to get it done on the straight. Bit of a moment, WRC Animal is all it took. And Big Wilk claimed the lead of this race on lap 10 as we enter lap 11 now, heading down towards the hairpin.
Yeah, 3 laps remain, almost 3 full laps remain. As now Big Wilk's making a mistake, and there's contact between P1 and P2 as WRC Animal has gone off at turn 3 because of contact with Big Wilk. He's trying to spin it around and get it going again. He's dropped down to P4, that's Clank up to P3 now. As Turbo is up to P2, and that's huge drama. With only 3 laps remaining, WRC Animal will be absolutely gutted with that there.
Yeah, that's pretty unlucky there for WRC Animal. You saw Big Wilk have a bit of power oversteer out the corner, get it a bit wobbly, and WRC Animal had nowhere to go other than into his rear end, and just the contact caused him to spin it into the barrier. So Hard luck there by WRC Animal, but there's nothing that Big Wilk could have done there to avoid that incident from happening.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but I mean, if they decide to go to the stewards, we'll report next week to see what happens back. But we can only speculate what happened now. But it just looked like Big Wilk just had a moment, and then Animal tried to go up tried to get the cut back, and then didn't anticipate Big Wilk still being on the track. But that's really unfortunate. But yeah, we're still in the battle here for the race one. Ass Turbo, 0.9 behind the lead of Big Wilk, and our man in P3, Clank.
Yeah, he's had a very quiet race so far, was in a bit of no man's land for the most of it, but manages to get his way to P3 after that incident. WRC Animal having to settle for 4th place so far. Hopefully no damage is going to drop him any further down the field, but we'll see as we go forward.
I wouldn't speak too soon, as the pack of Martin, Carey, Speedy Go, JJ and Ticklish are all looming.
Yeah, looks like that gap is actually coming down, but I didn't actually see Animal hit the barrier at all. But maybe the tyres are just a bit gone after that incident. But see if he can hold on to P4 as Speedy Go, trying to eye up Stefan Carey there around turn 4, but just again doing an amazing run. Started back of the grid due to a qualifying ban, has made himself up to P7 so far. Took a great run by Speedy Go, but Stefan Carey will be looking to defend this for the last 2 laps now from him and keep hold of that P6.
Martin here sitting in P5 has surely Animal must have damaged as it's all over the road now, trying to keep this car going to the last 2 laps. As Martin has got it right in the slipstream, he's going to have a look up into turn 1. He's going to take the position in the braking zone. He's got the move made. Can he hold it on the exit? He does. What a fantastic stuff. His Carey in the background is all over the road trying to keep Speedy Go behind.
Yeah, great move there by Martin, and looks like he's going to hold it into the hairpin as well. Don't think Animal has the run on him at all, so Martin makes his way up to P4 and see if Animal can now fend off Carey. Carey now the guy in that awkward position of wanting to make a move, but Speedy Go ready to pounce behind him if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, this Carey's having a look up the inside of Animal. Surely Animal must be carrying damage now, as there's a wheel to wheel, hub to hub.
That was close there, but I think it is all clean as Carey and I think Speedy Go are both on the outside now.
Carey actually has a 1 second time penalty.
Yeah, that'll be huge at the end of the race because that could be 2 positions. Animal just pushes Speedy Go off slightly. Speedy Go having to go on the grass and try and recover the car, but it looks like he's just stopping.
He stalled it. Speedy Go has stalled the car from that incident, and he will be dropping down the field as he gets dropped down to P11.
He did a great job of working his way from the back of the grid, but unfortunately it's going to be a lot of it's going to be all for nothing as he's dropped down to P13 now, after getting his way all the way up to P7, P6 area. So unfortunate there for Speedy Go, as we are on the last lap now, and if we jump to our leaders, there's only 3/10 in it in the final lap, heading down towards turn 4. Can Ass Turbo get a move done before the end on Big Wilk? Big Wilk defending on the inside, Ass Turbo taking the wider line, looking for a cutback.
Slight lock up. Big Wilk will be defending every single turn on this last lap. He wants the win. He needs it to try and make some inroads on this championship, because in all fairness he does have a chance of taking it, but he needs to keep this Ass Turbo behind, because Ass Turbo is the championship leader. But he seems to be slightly slow, as Ass Turbo will be in the slipstream now as they head down to the second last turn. He's defending very severely into the second last corner. Yeah, Ass Turbo has to fall back in. That's a huge contact!
Couldn't really tell the cause of that, but there was contact. But Big Wilk will be the first man past the checkered flag ahead of As Turbo at the end of that race there. Amazing racing by these guys. Clank picking up P3 from no man's land.
Very quiet race for him. As Martin picks up P4, but will Carey drop a spot from his P5, or will Animal pick up P5?
It looks like he's got enough of a gap there. If it's only 1 second, I think he's going to hold on to P5 as WRC Animal takes P6 and JJ following up in P7. Ticklish across the line now in P8.
There's Dunder in P9. Voodoo P10.
And Boris battling with Voodoo. I don't know what happened to Boris, but he dropped pretty far off the pace there after qualifying in the top 4. Dropping down to 11th, which is also going to be detrimental for him in this feature race, given that it's reverse grid order for the top 10.
Yeah, Voodoo will be a bit disheartened with that there, but was such a midfield battle, but he'll be starting pole, so he should be happy. But yeah, again, it's a bit unfortunate for Boris. If he had got that P10, he would have been right up there for the race win again, for the next race, for the race win in the feature race. But going back to that battle that we had for the lead, as we see in the background, lots of cars causing carnage. Yeah, I just believe that Big Wilk defended so strongly into the second last turn that it affected his exit speed, and I don't think As Turbo anticipated that there, and that just made him run into the back of him. But again, that's really unfortunate because it was the battle for the lead.
Yeah, I don't think Big Wilk did anything wrong there though. So it's that was an incredible race. Again, we had battles for the lead. We had battles for 5th place, just going, well, 4th place at the end there, going all the way down the order. It's incredible racing there by these guys. But Big Wilk, your winner here for race 1, followed by As Turbo, Clank picking up the 3rd place on the podium. WMDR Martin, the winner of that little battle for the midfield, followed closely by Stefan Carey, WRC Animal, JJ. Then further back we have Ticklish Pickle Wickle and Oz Dunder, followed by Voodoo, rounding up our top 10.
Yeah, and P11 we had Boris, who will be disappointed with that their result. P12 we got Dayerfile. P13 we got Uni, who was taken out on the first lap. We didn't get to catch it, but he ended up being a bit of a recovery drive today. P14 was Enema and Keyboard Blondie, who actually had a pit stop, and Speedy Go, who ended up 16th with a DNF after that incident with Animal. And then in 17th, Mr. Ferret and Cameron B, and 18th.
Yeah, tons of drama there with incidents happening all around the field, and
to be part of, even if we are only commentating. But there's so much drama, so much close racing. It's a pleasure to be here. But
indeed,
as I ask you this every week, who's your driver of that race? Driver of that race.
Of that race, you have to give it to Big Wilk. I mean, he just drove brilliantly to hold on to that lead, and after WRC Animal made a few errors to capitalise on that, Big Wilk just kept it down the whole way through. Just didn't put a foot wrong and got the win of that race.
Yeah, it was a bit messy, but I mean, end of the day, it's his first win of the season, so I think I would have to give it to him as well.
We will have a short break now, but thank you for joining us for race 1, and we'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes or so for race 2, so don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back for race 2 of our Formula C Championship here with AOR. We are currently waiting for our drivers to line up for their rolling start. It's not really supported by Project Cars 2, so we do it a manual way where they'll call out the drivers and get them in order. So we are doing a reverse top 10 grid from the sprint race, which was an amazing sprint race to watch and commentate on. Some amazing action going all up and down the field. But starting from pole then, who finished in 10th in the previous race, we have Voodoo, followed by Oz Dunder in P2, Ticklish taking up the 3rd place spot, JJ in the 4th position. We have WRC Animal starting in 5th. He does currently have a 20-second penalty, but that will be removed because it was for jumping the start, which you can't really do in a rolling start. So if you're watching, ignore his 20-second penalty. It doesn't count. Following up behind them is Stefan Carey, who is now in the correct livery. He's doing a bit of a George Russell, I think, and just driving a Mercedes for a bit, and now he's back in his Williams. Following from there, we have WMDR Martin in 7th, Clank starting in 8th, As Turbo having that great battle with Big Wilk towards the latter stages of that race, and then our previous race winner Big Wilk starting in 10th, Boris 11th, and then File starting in 12th, Uni starting 13th, and Enema starting 14th. Keyboard Blondie taking up 15th. Speedy Go, who I believe DNF'd the previous race, will be starting in 16th. And Mr. Ferret starting in 17th. Unfortunately, we have lost Cameron B from the lobby, so he will not be racing in this race for any fans of Cameron B. As we drivers are now 2x2 getting ready for the rolling start. It'll be up to Voodoo to get this race underway. They can decide to basically put their foot down at any point they want over top of these grid markers to signal the start of the race.
Yeah, any moment now, Voodoo's going to drop the hammer and the race will be on. And he's dropped the hammer. He's had a great start. As Dunder's been caught sleeping, Ticklish is going to have a look up the inside. As will he make the move stick? Ticklish has got the apex. Dunder goes slightly away on the exit. As there's a huge crash in the background.
I believe that's Clank going down the order. That's Clank, whose car just got taken to ruins, and now he's crabbing down the field. Missed the incident that was caused that, but Clank having a great first race, finishing 3rd. There's more carnage down the order.
WRC Animal has been turned around before they even got to turn 3. And there's huge drama already in this feature race.
Still a long way to go.
We jump back to the start with JJ now. Have a look on Stefan Carey, who's jumped up to P3. He's had a great start. As Oz Thunder gets into the lead, Voodoo has been passed. He's down to P2. As Carey has a look, this is such close racing so far at the start. But we've seemed to have dropped off 3 people at the back. Clank, WRC Animal, and Big Wilk as well in P15.
That is huge.
That's huge for the championship. As Stefan Carey, will he make it around the outside? As somehow Voodoo decides to go wide, and they're a 3-way going into the last turn. As Boris gets up to P5, what an amazing move, jumping 2 places in the final turn. Fantastic stuff from Boris.
Boris taking advantage of the carnage happening ahead, just keeps it smooth, keeps it clean, and manages to jump up 2 positions there. As there's someone on the roof. Was that Ticklish? That's Ticklish Pickle Wickle.
I saw Ticklish go a bit deep into turn 1, and I didn't think he was going to get it slowed down in time. But he's absolutely cartwheeled it, and he's on the wall again.
Yeah, that car's not driving as it should.
Nightmare.
That's now 3 people are going to be in the pits. 4th with Ticklish by the time he gets around. It's a long drive back around, but jump back to the action now for looking at P2. It could be pretty close here now as they head down towards turn 4. WMDR Martin chasing down JJ, Carry ahead. Oz Dunder's actually managed to pull away from Stefan Carry so far, getting a 2-second lead from the rest of the group.
Yeah, so far this is looking pretty good for the Celtic Lambrou man, sitting P2 and P4 right now, with Stefan Carey as WRC. Sorry, not WRC, as Martin in P4 goes slightly adrift. And Boris is right on the gearbox now again in P5, hunting down Martin. As we look at JJ in P3, closing the gap as Boris and Martin goes off in the background slightly wide. Martin again goes slightly wide. Martin's really struggling, but Carey seems to be even struggling even harder as he goes defensive across the line. But JJ, can he make it around the outside into turn 1? Carey's got the inside, he's going to take the apex and keep the position, but JJ definitely pushing for this. He wants to get this P2 as he feels he's faster, but that there excursion at turn 1 has cost him time, as now Martin and is making a look, and JJ goes very defensive, but Martin, will he have a look around the outside? As JJ takes the apex and Martin has to slip back in behind as Boris now, because Martin's at the bad exit out of turn 3. Boris is going to take the position as there's, yeah, you can see Ticklish pulling off to the right hand side to make sure that there's no contact, as it's just been a bit of a disaster of a race for some people in this race. But yeah, the battle for P2 is hotting up. We got Carey, JJ, MWR, Martin and Boris all battling it out really close for P2, as Dunder right now is doing a bit of a Lewis Hamilton, 3.6 seconds in the lead with only 3 laps done.
Yeah, unbelievable event so far in this race. Cars flipping over, top runners having to pit early on. Big Wilk and WRC Animal both having to pit on lap 1 to damage. It's going to open this race right up. As I say before, Dunder now 4 seconds ahead after just 3 laps. Jumping into lap 4 is JJ.
Sorry to cut across you, but you can just see they were going 2 by 2 across the start finish line as JJ had a look on Carey. He claimed apex, but Carey went slightly wide, and Boris has made it across the line to pass Martin into turn 1.
But we can also report that there will be rain during this race, so about halfway through, about the lap 14 mark, we're expecting rain as JJ gets very slippy on the exit of the hairpin and is going to lose probably all 4 of those positions. Can he hold it through?
Again, 2 by 2. This is fantastic stuff. JJ defending like hell against Carey, and Martin, the teammates working together to put him under extreme pressure. Boris is trying to go around the outside of Martin, but he just has nowhere to go because Carey's right in front.
Now you can see it's WMDR Martin, sorry, battling there with Boris, trying to get the Celtic Bromance pair together so they can at least work together to some degree to keep their positions. But Martin very sideways there as he comes around turn 7, trying to defend from Boris and hold that position.
Yeah, we can see now that Martin seems to be the one that's struggling the most, and maybe he's gone the other way with the setup because he's anticipating the weather change which is coming to try and help him later on in the race.
Yeah, maybe he found loose better in the wet, but has to suffer through this first half to get to that point of the race before it settles down on him when he changes his tyres into the wet weather.
Yeah, but if you can look, because these guys are battling so much, you can see that Keyboard Blondie in the background is starting to hunt them down. Fantastic stuff. Once again, the midfield does not disappoint. We'll have a look back now. P9, Mr. Ferret, trying to close the gap on Uni, and Speedy Go in the background as well, trying to hunt down Mr. Ferret. Speedy Go didn't have a great race last race, ended up having to start from I think it was second last or third last in this race, but again he's so fast, he's already up to P10, trying to take the battle to everyone else on the grid as he's closed the gap to Mr. Ferret. He's making Ferret look, and he's grabbed apex, he's mid Ferret look in the mirrors and missed the apex. As he's still managing to hold the position as Mr. Ferret, but as Clank is again in the pits, he's had a bit of a nightmare. But Ferret and Speedy Go goes up the inside of Mr. Ferret, up to P9.
Yeah, Speedy Go managed to get from the back of the grid all the way up to P7, I believe it was last race, before Contact pushed him to DNF. But starting again from near the back, we'll see how far he can push up, getting himself to P9 as we're back now with WMDR Martin and this train of cars as JJ's managed to pull a bit away from Stefan Carey now into turn 1. The train's spread out a little bit more than it was before. Everyone seems to be settling down and just trying to get some laps and push towards that wet weather and try and pull a gap to the rest of the field.
Yeah, but as one gets away, another joins. As you can see, Keyboard Blondie in the background has now joined onto the back, and he will be in the slipstream of Boris. But yeah, it's just we told you that the racing in this league is extremely close, and this is why you should join AOR and do some of these leagues, because it's incredible racing.
Boris now. Boris having to start from P11, now up to P5 in this race. They qualify in the top 4 for race 1, but dropped down the order slowly throughout the race, and seems to be hanging on to this group pretty well this time, and see if he can get himself on the podium in this race.
Yeah, Boris is an extremely fast guy, but he just, I think he must have had a slight incident in the last race. But yeah, we can tell that he's right here with these lads, and definitely looking as Martin had a bit of a moment coming into the second last corner, as the Celtic Lamb Romance guys seem to be struggling in the dry section of this race, as Boris right now is on the gearbox of Martin. Will the teammates call team orders and try to have a roadblock going to try and keep Boris behind until, as the rain has hit the track, it's starting to rain. When will people start pitting for wets, or will they bother and try and stick it out on dries for the next 20 laps? So it's a huge ask, as Boris has a look on Martin around the outside. Martin will have the apex, but will he get the drive out of it? He's still squirreling around a little bit, but Boris has to slip back in behind.
Yeah, the rain starting very early here. Not seeing some cameras not showing it so much, but I think there is drops here and there. But again, it'll be interesting to see when these guys decide to pit. Do they want to go for the undercut? Do they want to try and stick it out for an extra couple of laps and not heat up those wet tyres too quickly? It'll be interesting to see what everyone's plans are when the wet weather does hit fully.
Yeah, definitely. As Chiari almost loses control and he's on the grass, but manages to keep it together. But when will these guys pit? As the race leader, Dunder, has decided it's already time for wets. He is in the pits, but everyone else seems to want to stay out, as someone in the background has destroyed a braking marker. But Dunder, has he jumped the gun a bit too soon, or has he pulled an absolute blinder?
Yeah, that is very, very early in the pits. Like, I'm not seeing much rain at all. Unless his crew chief has said otherwise. That's a very, very early pit stop. We'll see how that pays off for him at all. Whether it's an unscheduled stop, but I don't think he was damaged. He was well up the road. It didn't seem like he dropped from hitting a wall or anything. So we'll see if it pays off for Dunder now.
No, I think he might have pulled the gun a bit too early, or because the entire field has stayed out.
Yeah, you can start seeing the rain now dropping onto the camera. It's definitely coming down a bit heavier now. So maybe it's perfect. It may have been perfect. We'll see if anyone now can prove us wrong and see if they go flying off the road as the rain starts to come down. I know that it can get very tricky very quickly if you're not prepared for it. I think we'll see most of them start coming into the pits pretty much immediately.
Yeah, well, Oz Dunder is now sitting 22 seconds behind JJ.
Yeah, he's got himself a bit of
sitting in
traffic though.
P11.
He's got 2 seconds ahead of him to Deophile, so it'll be interesting to see if that plays a factor into this, whether he gets stuck behind. But if everyone else decides to pit this lap, he's going to have a very clear piece of track to race into, try and put in a hot lap. As these guys stay out, they're staying out for another lap.
Let's have a look at their lap times. Let's see what JJ can do this lap. 34.6 and a 34.7 from JJ and Carey respectively. Their times aren't falling that fast. I think Oz Dunder may have jumped the gun.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. This is I think this is still just his out lap now, so we're not going to see a flying lap until his next lap. But we're getting a report from Ticklish Pickerwickle after that incident that we saw in turn 1 and him crabbing his car around the field. He had radiator damage and his engine blew up just before his pit box, so unfortunately Ticklish Pickerwickle has had to DNF from and retire from this race, so it's sad to see him go. As we have a couple of pit stops now, we got Mr. Ferret and Speedy Go have decided to jump in the pits.
Yeah, I can understand the midfielders going to the pit soon because they've got the less to lose, but for the leader to come in like 2 laps before P2 and P3 respectively, but that's a bit unusual to see, but we'll see if his strategy can work out. He's currently sitting P9 as Oz Dunder, now jumped up to P8, so he is making the tyres work.
Yeah, I was about to say he was stuck behind Deophile for a bit there, must have spent about a lap behind him, but he's cleared him now, and we'll see if see his lap time at the end of this lap and whether it's up to the pace of these lead drivers who are still staying out. They still don't think it's ready to pit yet. As you see Keyboard Blondie there in the background getting, Boris, apologies, Boris getting very sideways out of the last corner, so I can't see them staying out too much longer if that's what's going to be happening, if they're starting to lose traction and lose grip.
And Ass Turbo has just decided it's time for wets. He's in the pits now, but we can also see that JJ's times are starting to slip off, as well as the the top 5 people's times are starting to slip off, as but definitely Oz Dunder's times are pretty much matching. Yeah, they're matching. This is the overlap. This is the window.
Yeah, it seems to be that from now on Oz Dunder's going to be where he needs to be to start gaining on these lead drivers, but again, that was about 2 laps too early for Oz Dunder, so can he do enough now that the tyres are coming towards him to come out ahead once these guys take their pit stops? So we've got JJ leading the race. It's still such a close race. Stefan Carey down the inside into turn 6, and he makes it stick as well.
I think it's definitely time to pit now. It looks as if JJ is starting to struggle on these tyres, and Carey is going to be either making a move or following him into the pits. But yeah, surely it's time to move onto the wets now for these guys. The rain is quite heavy now, but will they get it slowed down in time? As Carey goes into the pits, as Martin actually decides he wants to lead a lap of the race.
Yes, maybe. Obviously, we know WMDR Martin, a controller player. Maybe he can handle the wet weather on slicks better than the wheel drivers. So we'll have to keep an eye on this now. Can WMDR Martin make these slicks work, as the rain is starting to get pretty heavy now? That last lap of 1:36, so the lap times are getting slower. Look at the guys that have pitted. We've got Oz Dunder now heading towards the line.
Oz Dunder, let's have a look and see where he's going to come out. Can he make up the difference? And he definitely has. He's had a huge lead now, as everyone's still in the pits changing tyres as he's coming around turn 1. What a fantastic strategy call from Oz Dunder. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, whatever he chose to do there, that's gained him tons of time. I didn't expect him to get this much of an advantage from it. That's actually pretty insane, although that last lap by Oz Dunder was only a 1:36. So where this time's come from, I do not know. He just managed to jump a lot of the field. Well, he went in the pits in the lead, but he's managed to pull a massive gap now to JJ.
Yeah, he's got a 12-second lead now out of that there, when before it was only about 3 seconds. So he's got almost 9 seconds on them from that fantastic strategy call. He just needs to keep it between the barriers now, keep it on the black stuff, and stroke it on home. And unless Martin, who is the current race leader, unless his strategy works out. It looks as if he's going to come into the pits now. As he goes a bit wide, can he cut it back into the pits in time? He
Yeah.
decides just about to get it in the pits, but we'll have to see if his strategy call will work, or will he drop down the field and fall back into P5 where he was sitting before. He is the first pit box, but let's see where Oz Dunder is now. Oz Dunder, yeah, huge lead. Coming into the final turn, fantastic strategy call. I can't praise this guy enough. What an unbelievable strategy call.
He's put a ton of time now into the other drivers, but he still seems to be struggling in the wet. Like it's even with the wet tyres on, as you see Boris going deep in the last corner, having to try and bring it back in front of JJ.
Yeah, and it looks as if Carey as well must have had a moment. These guys have got, as Boris has got ahead of them both. As Martin rejoins the track. What a fantastic strategy call from Martin, as he's managed to make it work, and he's jumped about 3 people.
Yeah, Martin with the overcut there managed to get himself from, I believe he was in P5 up to P2 with that pit stop, and he's got a good 3-second gap to Boris as well, so it may take a lap or two for the tyres to come into him, but I'm sure he can keep that 3-second up during that time. That's a great pit stop by WMDR Martin, but it's just strange to see how Aussie Dunder managing to undercut everyone and gain a good, well, looking at Martin's 10-second gap now, it's gained of 6 seconds basically on everyone else, but Martin also managed to make the overcut work, so whatever windows these guys managed to choose come out a bit random, to be fair.
Yeah, it definitely seems it works for them. Fantastic strategy calls from both Oz Dunder and Martin. Hopefully we can grab them into the commentary box after the race, because that has absolutely worked out treat for them.
I believe the guys who pitted in the first after the first few incidents have now had to pit again to get onto the wet tyres, which is unfortunate for them. They couldn't take any advantage of just going straight onto a fresh set and going to the end. They've had to come in to get on the wet tyres. So we see Big Wilk down in P12, WRC Animal in 15th, and Clank down in 16th. So,
oh no! Oz Dunder's had to pit again!
I wonder if he put on the wrong tyres. Did he put on dries instead of wets during his pit stop? We know that the Project Cars 2 system is not always too intuitive, but...
Oh, what a nightmare. He's got wets on now, so we can see the threads on the tyres, but that is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah,
that's probably where he got the time. He probably, in the first pit stop, he probably didn't change the tyres.
Yeah, and then just went on until it got too bad for him and then had to pit again, but he's now down in P7 and quite a bit behind As Turbo. That's 7 seconds down on As Turbo now, so it's unfortunate for Aussie Dunder of the pit stop causing the error, but we now have a new leader in WMDR Martin. He's got a good 2-second gap back to Boris after making the overcut work on the other guys that were battling for that second place before the pit stops began.
Yeah, that's such gutting news to have Oz Dunder have to pit twice. Because he didn't have a strategy set up, because he was on for what looked like an absolute masterclass for strategy. But yes, really unfortunate. But it seems Martin's strategy at least seems to be working out. Let's hope he's on the right tyres anyways. But yeah, the gap seems to be holding to Boris, so that's really unfortunate for poor Dunder, because he had such an amazing race so far, as he just drops down to P9 now.
Yeah, seems to be going backwards, whether tyres aren't in yet, not bedded in, but he seems to be really struggling. But hopefully he can pick up the pace again, whether the pit stops are still playing havoc, but it looks like he is on wet tyres, but struggling a lot as it is. Maybe tyre pressures are causing an issue. He's not getting any grip. You see him going wide there in the last corner, there's no grip at all in this car. Quite worrying to see for Oz Dunder there.
Yeah, and we are only now at the halfway mark. There's a big, long race to go just yet. That's so unfortunate for Oz Dunder. But we'll jump back up to P4, Stefan Carey, who is under a little bit of pressure from Keyboard Blondie, who is about 2 seconds behind, but he's looking ahead to JJ, who's 2 seconds ahead. The gaps to everyone now with the rain seems to have all everyone seems to have a bit of a gap in front and behind. The things have calmed down a bit after the pit stops.
Yeah, with these being open wheel cars as well, the spray that you get in the weather in this game is pretty intense. You get behind someone and you cannot see where you're going. You're just trusting the guy ahead knows where he's going. You can follow them through. So some of these guys might be leaving a bit of a gap just for visibility more than anything else, because it can get very difficult to see where you're going when you get in the spray of these cars.
Yeah, it could be very well if you get too close. Then if you brake where they brake, it's already too late, and then everyone just goes off. Like 2 or 3 cars would just go straight over the gravel trap. But yeah, we have having a look here now at Ass Turbo, starting to close the gap. He's definitely seems to like the wet weather, as he's closing up on Keyboard Blondie now.
Yeah, he's gained a few tenths or a few seconds over the last lap or so, so I can see Ass Turbo getting the move done very quickly and making his way up towards Stefan Carey next, where there's another 4-second gap to get to Carey up the road. Gonna look down the inside here, no, he dives back to the outside to try and get a better run as Blondie gets a bit sideways round the hairpin. Can Ass Turbo get a better exit down to turn 4? Staying in the tow for now, staying in that spray where even we can barely see his car, let alone what he can see ahead of him. He heads towards the inside now, going to turn 4, but no, again, decides to get back on the racing line and follow Keyboard Blondie through turn 4.
But in other news, we have a Mr. Stefan Carey who has jumped up to P3. He just took JJ into turn 4.
So that was a 2-second gap only a couple of laps ago that Stefan Carey's managed to put himself into and gain that position and get himself onto a podium spot so far, but I'm not sure JJ's going to give it up that easily.
Yeah, the Celtic Land Bromance sitting P1 and P3 right now, a double podium finish if they can keep it like this here for the next 12 laps, but that's a huge ask in these conditions with the racing so close. But I did say earlier that Martin looked a bit squirrely in the dry, but he seems to be pretty planted now. He's holding a 3-second gap to Boris. I'm pretty sure he went for a setup. Oh, sorry to cut back to Stefan Carey. He's having to be defensive on JJ and hold the position, as he seems to get a decent drive at JJ right now in the slipstream again of Stefan Carey as they head up to turn 3.
Yeah, in the background I think Ass Turbo's managed to make his way around Keyboard Blondie, so Ass Turbo up to P5 now, as JJ's still right on the tail of Stefan Carey going into the hairpin. Making it through cleanly there. It's horrible conditions to be racing in, but they're making it work. They're doing the best they can and they're still driving fairly with each other. Head down towards turn 4. Doesn't look like JJ's going to get a look around here. Stefan Carey aiming straight for the apex. Getting that car turned in. Getting it round.
Carey being extremely defensive, making sure he tells JJ, you are not having the inside line. If you want to get past me, you have to go around the long way. But,
very difficult to do in these conditions, especially if there is any sort of dry line that's remaining. You go off that line and it's very difficult to get anything going.
Yeah, definitely, but the gap for JJ is still staying with him. The gap isn't opening up too much.
But the gap that is coming down is the gap from Ass Turbo to JJ, so it won't be long until Ass Turbo joins this battle. I think it'll be about 5 or 6 laps maybe before Ass Turbo gets on the tail end of this. Could be in for a spicy finish for the last podium spot here towards the end of this race if Ass Turbo can get towards it and put JJ under some pressure, and then both of those put pressure on Carey. But So far, WMDR Martin with a brilliant pit strategy, leading this race, 5.5 seconds up from Boris now.
Yeah, he's absolutely sucking diesel, so he is. He's absolutely flying as MWR Martin. He did seem a bit slippy in the dry conditions, but once the rain came, the setup that he had on the car just seemed to suit the wet conditions really, really well. And now he's up the road, and he's doing a fantastic job for the him and his teammate of Celtic Land Romance.
Is indeed. Boris, guy in second place, is a solo driver, but JJ, unfortunately his teammate didn't manage to start this race for the Late Birds team, Cameron B. As JJ spins, coming out of turn 4, following Stefan Carey, JJ has lost it and has to concede the position to As Turbo, and he's lost his front wing. So I think he's going to have to come into the pits. That's tragedy for JJ, he's struggling around turn 6 now.
I do believe that I remember when I did a GT3 race in the rain here a few months back on that ferry corner. There seems to be, after a few laps, there be a puddle on the inside, and he took a very tight line there coming around that corner, and he just must have just lit the rears up as he aquaplaned and spun to the inside and hit the wall. Ah man, he'll be gutted with that there because he will have to pit because he'll just have no front end now, especially in the rain.
Yeah, looks like he's taking the inside line to make his way into the pit lane here. He was having a fantastic race there, running in 4th, just behind Carey in P3, but having to now take this pit stop to repair the car and get a new front wing on there. Stefan Carey will be breathing a sigh of relief as he can now have some space to himself. Still being chased down by As Turbo, just 3 seconds behind him, but Stefan Carey now can look ahead and try and chase down Boris before he gets under any pressure.
Yeah, lots of drama in these races tonight. But Carey, as you say, will be having a slight breather now. But he's still not on the times of Martin. Martin, his last lap was a 43.9, and Carey's last lap was a 43.5, so he's got 6/10 to try and at least match the leader's pace.
Yeah, because Boris also the other guy that's managing to hit the 43 lap time, so front 2 guys are managing to pull further away from the rest of the field, but see if that's a one-off or whether that's consistent lap after lap. But As Turbo slowly closing this gap to Stefan Carey.
Yeah, we got 9 laps remaining, and there's a back marker of, I do believe it's Clank and the arm. No, I do believe it's Enema.
Yeah, it'll be either Enema or Dunder. One of them just struggling to make their way back around the field, but
that actually cost As Turbo a good chunk of time there coming around that section because of the black marker. But Carey, yeah, well, he gained about a second on As Turbo that lap.
Yeah, WMDR Martin going faster again with a 43.49, so whatever WMDR Martin's done in that pit stop, he's got those tyres perfect and he is pulling away from this race.
As Oz Dunder again has to pit again. Oh, and he's almost dropped it into the wall, in the pit wall.
There is a massive puddle into that pit lane and he nearly lost it there. As he comes in now for his 3rd pit stop of the session, which is unfortunate to see. Whether there's no tyre change there, so I'm not sure what's going on entirely with Oz Dunder. Decided to just bring it into the pits now as we jump to Enema.
Enema and Voodoo now battling it out for P12. As he goes up the inside of Voodoo, fantastic stuff in the middle sector.
And then loses it on the corner after into the barrier. That's going to be huge damage as the front wing comes off, so Enema after having made a fantastic move on Voodoo, unfortunately drops the front end, probably on another puddle on that inside curb, and just ends up sending it straight into the barrier. But that is going to be another pit stop, so
yeah, it does seem that this race is not a foregone conclusion just yet, as the puddles seem to be taking people from right, left and centre. People need to be careful and do their best to avoid these puddles because they will end your race in a split second, and no man, woman or child has fast enough reactions to correct the car to stop it from spinning around if you start aquaplaning. As Enema hits the wall in the pit entry,
That puddle taking a few
Oh.
lives today, but we also see Voodoo in the pits at the same time. So, not sure whether Voodoo picked up any damage from that, whether they collected Enema in that incident at all, but it didn't look like anything happened that way, but Voodoo also taking the pit stop.
Yeah. Voodoo is definitely taking a longer pit stop for some reason. I think the two of them must have had damage, because maybe that's why Voodoo was going so slow in the middle sector and let Enema past. But Voodoo is now out of the pits. But we'll have a now look at the race leader, Martin. Fantastic stuff so far, and you can see there the puddle that killed JJ. Yeah. And the gap now opening up to almost 6 seconds from P1 to P2.
Yeah, can't fault anything with Martin's driving today. Had a great battle before the rain came down. Decided to stay out for an extra couple of laps and get the overcut, and managed to come out ahead of everyone else apart from Ozdunder. But after Ozdunder had to pit again, and who was also in the pits now for a 4th time, I believe.
Yeah,
he's gotten down to P15.
Ozdunder has now got a pit lane violation. He was being caught speeding in the pit lane. His race has been absolutely destroyed because of the wet weather. But we can see there, Martin has just lapped Clank, who unfortunately Clank has just not had a great race. His first lap, first corner was a bit of a disaster. We didn't pick it up on cams, but he ended up with a lot of suspension damage and a missing rear wing. But he's still trucking around in P16, doing his best to pick up some valuable points towards his championship.
Yeah, you still need to finish if you want those points, so Clank just nursing his way around now for the final 6 laps, but Boris knocked a bit of time into Window Martin, but it's going back the other way now. The delta is pretty inconsistent as it goes from 5.5 to 6.6 after that corner, and still rising.
Martin's last lap was a 43.7. He's definitely still pushing.
But, looking back at Carry has not lost any ground from As Turbo so far, so he's holding his own there in P3, and doesn't seem to be losing any time, but I don't believe he's also gaining much on Boris either, as the gap's still 4 seconds ahead of him.
Yeah, Carry was 1/10 of a second faster than As Turbo last lap, so they're pretty much identical lap times. I think for the next 6 laps, if Carry can just hold on, he will pick up his first podium of the season.
Yeah, it'd be great to see. After a couple of 5th and 6th places, getting on the podium will be exactly what Stefan Carey wants. As we go Speedy Go now, who's got himself up to P6, starting from the back of the grid. So he did this last time and unfortunately had an incident which pushed him to DNF in the first race, but see if he can hold on to it this time, and chasing down Keyboard Blondie ahead of him around the back marker of I believe that's Enema or Dunder there. So yeah, Speedy Go, having a good run of it, just 2 seconds up the road to Keyboard Blondie. Very sideways off that last corner there.
Yeah, and we can see that Ferret, another Celtic Romance driver, is letting Martin pass as we speak. And
that's backwards.
I think that's... Was that Enema? That was Enema again.
Enema not in their team livery this race apparently, and deciding that enough is enough and retiring from the race. Unfortunately won't be picking up any points from this race today, but Mr. Ferret
yeah, Mr. Ferret in P10, this is if he can hold it here, it'll be a top 10 finish, his first of the season. Fantastic result for him, considering how tricky this race has been.
So let's do one of the lapping cars pass. I believe that's WRC Animals, so maybe they're a lap down in fact, and just knows that WRC Animals faster even though he's behind, just to let him go and not cause any more drama.
Yeah, the next driver that Mr. Ferret has to worry about is JJ, who is incredibly fast. He's currently 4 seconds a lap faster than Mr. Ferret, and he is about 4 seconds behind. So in the next lap or so, JJ will be putting pressure on Mr. Ferret with 7 laps remaining.
Will indeed, and obviously JJ's pitted a bit more recent as well, may have got fresh tyres on after making those repairs too, so JJ will be marching up the field the best he can, but As Turbo now closing in on Stefan Carey, getting it within a second now.
Yeah, sorry to cut across you, but As Turbo has just turned up the rank. His last lap was a 42.8, but before that was a 43 flat, and Carey is now feeling the heat from As Turbo. The Spaniard is right on the gearbox of the German.
Yeah, see if we can go on board with As Turbo and see how bad that spray is behind Stefan Carey. I can imagine visibility being not great. They come out of the hairpin, and it's better than expected, I'll be honest.
We'll have a look at the cockpit to see. You can still see, but it's still it's
distracting to say the least.
Yeah, it's definitely a distraction to say. You can definitely see the different lines. As As Turbo goes slightly wide, I was going to say he takes a different line there. As Carey's on the grass, and As Turbo, we're riding on board.
Gonna have to hit that puddle though.
He almost loses it, and I was saying earlier, man, woman, or child, his reaction's fast enough, but apparently As Turbo does.
And he makes the move stick on Stefan Carey there. Now, can Stefan Carey have an answer as they break it very deep, dodging that big puddle on the inside there? So the lines may look like they're going wide, but where the puddles form on this track is always seems to be on the apex, so you have to take the corner a lot wider than usual in the wet weather. Stefan Carey getting out of the spray as they head towards the second to last corner.
Yeah, that wide line that As Turbo took into turn 4 seemed to really help him to get better drive out of to go around turn 5, even though Carey was on the grass. So the misfortune of the under braking seemed to really help him.
Yeah, managed to make the undercut work there as Stefan Carey now losing a bit of ground to As Turbo, but hopefully can put a battle towards the end. He's got a speedy go, has closed that gap which I said earlier to Keyboard Blondie. Now within a second, within half a second as they head down towards the hairpin. The speedy go starting from, I believe it was P17 at the start of this race, towards the very back. Managed to work his way back up, battling now for 5th place. He looked down the inside of the hairpin of Keyboard Blondie, claims the apex. Blondie having to go over the curbs on the exit. Who's going to get the better drivers to go down towards turn 4? Looks like it's going to go to Speedy Go, and it does go to Speedy Go, who heads towards the outside to defend and keep that outside line. You don't want to be on the inside too much, as we saw earlier with the how wet it is on the inside there. But Speedy Go got the move done quite cleanly there, and up to P5. But it's a long way to go now with 3 laps to go. I'm not sure he's going to gain any more on Stefan Carey unless anything untoward happens for the top 4. But he's got to be happy with that, gaining at least 11 positions in the race to get himself up to P5.
Yeah, it's a fantastic result for Speedy Go, but the race isn't over yet. We don't know if someone could grab a puddle up ahead of him, and he will be in the pound seat for maybe even a top 3. The race isn't over yet, so let's not count our seconds. But we'll have a look back at P11 and JJ in P10. I think JJ's just got past Mr. Ferret for P10. JJ, who spun out on the puddle from in P2, is back into the top 10. As Big Wilk now in P9. Some of the big hitters from this race. So much drama. It just doesn't seem to go. Didn't get the rub of the luck as some of the other guys did. As I do believe Clank is in the pits.
Yeah, he's had a miserable day of it, but I think he just wants to. Just needs to get to the end now with 8 laps remaining in this race. Or 8 laps for him, indeed. Sorry, the other guys seem to be on lap 26, so he is quite far down the order. We are on lap 26. I apologise.
It's alright, I'll forget you. Or forgive you even.
You can forget me if you like.
I'll never forget. Forget. But yeah, Keyboard Blondie. I'm pretty sure he'll be pretty happy with his P6, because I know he said earlier earlier before the race that he actually had a broken monitor and he wasn't even sure if he was going to be racing tonight. But I'm pretty sure, considering the circumstances, he'd be pretty happy with P6, even though he did just get overtaken by Speedy Go.
Yeah, P6 will be their best finish of the season so far. They had a 7th at Ruapuna, so they will top their best finish of the season if they manage to hold on to P6 by the end of this race. But WMDR Martin, can we just say what a drive? 7 seconds ahead now, just pulling away. Had the perfect pit stop, came out in the lead after pits, and just led ever since.
Fantastic stuff, I have to say. You can't fault this guy. He's had an absolute master plan to do the strategy call to come out and jump 3 of his rivals to get the who was Carrie, Boris, and JJ, to get himself ahead of the pack, and then to extend the lead after the pit stops. He did absolute fantastic stuff.
Yeah, to pick up his first win of the season. So if it ends up like this, we'll have 2 new leaders, or not two first-time winners, I should say, in this race. If it stays like this and Martin claims this, with Big Wilk claiming his first win in race 1, who's currently now sitting in P9. I believe they also had an incident in lap 1 along with WRC Animal and Clank and Ticklish Picklewickle, all having issues in the opening laps. But again, WMDR Martin now coming round the penultimate corner, and he's about to start his final lap of the race with a 7.5 second lead ahead of Boris. But looking down the order, there doesn't seem to be any other battles going on right now for any positions. It seems to be pretty spread out and everyone's got themselves settled in at this point of the race.
Yeah, I think we'll stay with Martin for the final lap, as all he has to do is to not hit a puddle and not hit the barrier. Just keep it on the black stuff, and he will pick up his maiden win of the season. As you can see, in the as some reason Clank is making another pit stop. He's just not had any luck today. Well, apart from race 1 where he got P3.
Yeah, maybe just testing pit strategies for the next race coming up, getting his pit crew warmed up. A bit of practice for them in case they were causing any issues for him today.
There's been so many unlucky drivers tonight. You've got Clank, you've got Ticklish Picklewickle, you've got definitely Oz Dunder, who he was in the lead of the race before the pit stops. And then you got WRC Animal as well. You had JJ. Oh, so many unlucky drivers, but the guys who managed to not have the luck, they've had an absolute unbelievable drive tonight.
That's
Martin now. Martin's got a back marker in front of him. I don't think he's going to risk passing him, or maybe he will. He's going to have a look anyways. But he's got 1 corner remaining after this, and he's going to have a maiden win. The back marker pulls out of the way. Martin's got 1 corner. He grabs Apex. What a fantastic stuff as he comes across the line for his maiden win in Formula C Season 1. Fantastic stuff, Martin.
Yeah, great race by him. 8 second lead ahead of Boris as he comes over the line. Boris claiming 2nd place there. Asturbo was slowly gaining on him, but not enough. Too little too late as Asturbo claims a 3rd step of the podium. Stefan Carey, 4th place, his best finish of the season so far, so he's still going to be happy with that. Coming over the line 4th place in these terrible conditions. Speedy Go actually only just behind him as well, so Speedy Go, great run there to get to P5, starting from near the back of the grid. Uni, someone we didn't speak about much, but he started outside the top 10 for this race and managed to pull himself up to 6th, so having a great run as well along with Speedy Go. Keyboard Blondie managing to come over in 7th place here. Also another driver who didn't start in the top 10, I believe, managing to get himself to P7.
Yeah, I do believe Keyboard Blondie's last lap was a 156, so I think he must have had an incident in his last lap to drop him back from Speedy Go so far, but still had a great race. But across the line is Dare File, as we can see Uni doing some donuts in celebration. and across the in P9 you got Big Wilk, and then JJ now coming around the final turn in P10. He will be a bit gutted, but this is racing. What can you say? P Ferret was at 11th.
You can take the
So
honours.
yeah,
Go ahead. Give us the rundown.
so yeah, my good friend WMDR Martin picking up his maiden win tonight in the rain. Very difficult conditions. He did a fantastic job. Boris in P2, Ass Turbo, our championship leader in P3, Stefan Carey P4, Speedy Go with an amazing recovery drive in P5, Uni in P6, Keyboard Blondie with another great drive in P7, Darefell P8, Big Wilk in P9, and JJ in P10. P11, we have Mr. Ferret, who had a great race with JJ, but just couldn't hold him off in the final laps. P12, we got Voodoo. P13, yet WRC Animal, who will be a bit gutted about that day because he had huge potential for tonight. But another man had a huge potential for tonight and was leading the race for a good chunk of the time was our P14 finisher, Oz Dunder. And Clank as well, who will be a bit gutted because he finished P3 in the sprint race, but only could manage 15th tonight after a crash at turn 1. And then 2 retirees is P16 and P17 of Enema and Ticklish Picklewickle.
Does indeed wrap up our finishing order for race 2, and we currently don't have anyone waiting for interview, so let's just talk more about that race. But we just say WMDR Martin had a great strategy going into it, managed to make the overcut work, staying out on those slicks a little bit longer than everyone else, just a couple of laps, and then managed to come out ahead and jump 3 different drivers with his late pit stop to come out in the lead, and then just run away with it to the end. He never lost the gap, it only ever extended, and took the win there. A great drive by Martin.
Yeah, in fairness to Martin, I think even if the overcut hadn't have worked, I think his times in the wet would have been enough to at least keep him with them, and at least potentially put him right there to win the race. It was just that he was so fast on the wets when it was a damp track that he was able to make the overcut work, and it was an absolute masterstroke. Fantastic stuff from Martin.
It was
Definitely.
indeed, and we will get Martin will join us now for the interviews. Martin, amazing race there, going a bit longer than everyone else on those slicks and getting the overcut to work. How was that race for you? Did you have a lot of practice?
I mean, I did have a little bit of practice in the rain just because I mean, I was gonna take this league fairly casually, but I wanted to make sure I was at least not on the wrong setup. So I got a couple of laps in, but yeah, I ended up staying out a lap longer because the 2 guys in front of me just dove into the pits, and I figured if I went in behind them, I A, had the chance of not getting my pit box, and B, they probably would have slowed me down in the pit lane entry. So I figured, all right, I'll give it another go. The tires felt all right. So then I stayed out for the extra lap, and sure enough, the track was pretty slippery. I think I lost 3 seconds to my best lap delta that lap. So I wasn't really sure where I was going to come out. I thought I might have lost some time. But yeah, came in for the wet tires and probably gained about 5 seconds from that strategy. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, we didn't see the delta for the other guys change too much, so we're not sure where that 5 seconds came from, but it worked out for you, and you got your first win of the season so far.
I mean, I've pretty much been a backmarker for most of it, so I'm pretty surprised to be up here.
Yeah, and also picking up 4th place in race 1, you got to be quite happy with this week. Well, this weekday, this Wednesday night, got quite happy with a 4th and a 1st place.
For the entire first race and for the first half of the second race, I was constantly fighting with my teammate and Boris behind me. It was very, very fun.
Glad you enjoyed it. And looking on to next week, where are we next week? Let's have a quick look at the calendar. We are at Silverstone. You either love it or you hate it. How do you feel?
Silverstone's all right. Not quite sure. I mean, I ran the loose setup for this race. I hope it'll be just as stable for that one too.
All right, so congrats on your win, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
See you next week.
Next up, we'll grab in our 3rd place finisher in race 2 and our 2nd place finisher in race 1. That is Ass Turbo. Welcome. How was that race for you? Or at least we thought we'd have Ass Turbo. Okay, we'll try him again in a second. We'll send him back and we'll grab someone else. We will grab... let's get Big Wilkin here, who manages to win race 1, but unfortunately had to pit early on in race 2 due to an incident. Talk us through that win first of all, the happy side of it, race 1. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was cool. I had to even do some overtakes, so yeah, very happy. Definitely good to be mixing up at the front, and we see a good race. We're missing a couple of our legends this week, so it was everything up for grabs.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously you managed to get your first win of the season. Missing Yogurt and Strongest Avenger, but you got to take advantage while they're not around to get that win. But looking at race 2, we saw an incident happen early on in your early pit stop, but I don't think we really caught it on camera. So what happened race 2?
Following Clank and I don't know who, they got they touched in turn 1, and Clank ended up spinning in front of me, and yeah, drilled him. So had no front wing and suspension damage. I didn't fix the suspension damage, just put a new front wing on it, and I was keeping pace with the leaders, but obviously once you're 50 seconds or so back, it's not all that helpful to keep pace with the leaders.
Yeah, for sure. It's overall not a terrible weekend. You got to be happy with that race win. I'm looking forward to Silverstone. Is that a track you enjoy?
You know, I haven't raced it much, so it's my other home Grand Prix, I guess. I don't know. We'll find out. If it's got lots of hairpins, then probably, but I don't think Silverstone does.
Yeah, you got 1 or 2, I think, around Village if it's that layout. But we'll see. We'll see when we get there. But congrats on your win, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks very much, guys.
Okay, I will bring someone in that I think Kinky can take this one. Our good friend Stefan Carey.
Hello.
Well, Mr. Stefan Carey.
Well.
How that your race 2 was pretty interesting. So your P3, P4 for a good chunk of the race, and then the rain came and Dunder decided to pit, and then you decided to stay out.
Well, I believe.
What was your strategy going forward?
I believe Dunder was just a bit too early. Rest of us stayed out, a couple of us. Yeah, but then Project Cars being Project Cars, I didn't have damage, 0, 0, 0 everywhere, and I didn't check damage for the pit strategy yet. I don't know. Some damage was repaired for almost 10 seconds, so I dropped a bit. But yeah, doesn't matter because Martin and Boris and Asturbo, they were quicker than I nonetheless. So P4, what the fuck? Great result.
Yeah, you did fantastic stuff. Has there been any news on Oz Dunder, because he did his first pit stop, and when he came out after the first round of pit stops, he seemed to have gained a huge chunk. Did he change onto the wrong set of tires, or did he not change tires in his first pit stop, or has there been any word?
I think his pit strategy was mangled. I don't know. It didn't change for wet tires, so he had to pit again, and apparently he came out on dry again. So he was unlucky or made a mistake. I don't know. Yeah. But it was fucking sad.
When we seen him pitting so early, like 2 or 3 laps before everyone else, we were like, we were all thinking, oh, that's a bit too early. But then when he came out like 2 seconds or 10 seconds up the road, we were like, this is a master stroke. But then it turned out that he was again, and we were like, oh no. But yeah, P4. That's a great result. We were watching you pretty closely. Bit of a shame you couldn't get on the podium for you and your teammate to be a double podium, but P4's not to be snuffed at.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was fighting for it, but I mean, come on, it's S-Turbo behind me. You can't do much. And then when he finally caught up to me, I made a mistake, and then he just got past. So, but still.
We were actually watching on board with Ass Turbo when he made that move. He actually went deep behind you into turn 4, and then that enabled him to get a better drive out of the corner.
Yeah, and I was when I was turning the wheel, I was sliding a bit, and I was trying to catch it, and then accidentally put in first gear. So I nearly spun, and my wheel was like, oh my god, left, right, and then he just went.
Oh well, maybe next week. But that was a hell of a showing tonight, Carrie, and
show was fun.
Hopefully you can do one better next week.
I hope so. But let's see.
Thanks for joining us, and yeah, we'll see you next week, buddy.
Thank you guys, and we'll see you.
Alright, we'll follow Stefan Carey with another Celtic Bromance driver in the name of Clank, having a podium finish in race 1 and then getting absolutely destroyed in turn 1 in race 2 and having a terrible day of it for the rest of it. So let's start with positives. Race 1, getting that podium position. How was that race for you?
It's a good one. Race 1. Yeah, qualifying was a bit more competitive than usual. I've been on sort of the verge of the top 10 this time, whereas I think I was 6th. So I was pretty happy with that. And I just went forwards. I think the key to my race was being able to just drop. I got to the front of that sort of train and then dropped them and left them behind. And while I think Carrie and Martin behind were squabbling, and they were just holding each other up so much, and I managed to just pull about 3-4 seconds, and then I was in no man's land. Really, it was a bit boring, but that became 3rd obviously when I don't know what happened, but one of the top 3 had an incident. I was kind of hoping I could see the gap and I could see them up the road in the distance. It was about 5-6 seconds at the end, and they weren't really pulling away from me. And obviously, I know they are battling, but they're also slipstreaming each other along, and that's huge in these cars. So once I was on my own, there was nothing I could really do apart from just keep going round and round. Hope they had a crash, and obviously one of them did, but not the other 2. And then of course race 2 was my turn for the crash, it seems.
Yeah, so moving on to that race 2, we caught it in the background with your car and bodywork flying up in the air. What happened going into turn 1?
Well, I was P8. I was on the outside line. I got a decent launch. I wasn't like... I was just sort of still in the double file, you know? And the people in front of me, I don't think I played it that aggressively into turn 1. I feel like the 2 people directly in front of me on the outside both went wide and overcooked it, and were rejoining further up the road, and I'd got a much better exit, and I was in the process of swooping round the outside of someone, and it just felt like whoever I was going round just understeered into me, because I couldn't go any further left because I would have been off the track and I would have been hitting these 2 people who, as I said, had gone wide, and I didn't want to go any further right because that's where he was, and obviously it feels like I just got understeered into, and the moment the back of my car got tagged, I got spun and into the path of someone else, and then I had 100 damage on both my rear suspension, no rear wing, had 60 damage on the engine, which then started overheating, and it was like 89 by the time I got back to the pit, so it almost blew up. That's what happened to Ticklish. His engine blew before he could get back to his pit box. So yeah, then I just sort of plucked around. I wasn't even really trying that much, to be honest. I did a few decent laps on the dry tyre, but then in the wet, I was just cruising to get those points for finishing. So not
Yeah, at least your engine didn't blow up like you say with Ticklish, so you managed to claim a handful of points at the end there, but
I could have been a lot more.
It could have been more, but that's racing, isn't it? It so happens to the best of us, happens to the worst of us. You can die in turn 1, or you can drive away with it like Martin did and become the hero. So
yeah, but that's the thing. He was behind me in race 1. The people who were in the top 3 were all behind me in race 1. So I look at the standings, and all I see is I could have won that, which I genuinely think would have been possible, was it not for I'd already gained places. I was already going forwards, and obviously it's easy to say that, but I feel it was, because the people who normally lock out the top positions either aren't here or had problems of their own. So
Yeah, and we
I don't know.
saw WRC, Animal, and Big Wilk both getting involved in a. I believe Big Wilk tagged your back end during that incident. Couldn't really avoid it by the sounds of it, so that's what dropped him
Yeah, I
out. And
think he.
WRC Animal died on his own, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was Big Wilk that I spun across the front of after I'd been hit. So yeah, nothing I could. Well, there was nothing I could do at that point. Car was very much broke.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to hear, but head up for next week for Silverstone. Hopefully you can improve there.
Yeah, I got to focus on the positive of the podium, I suppose, because I've been so close so many times this season. I think in every race I was third in Barcelona before contact. I was fourth in Rapuna, then I was fourth again in Monza, and yeah, it's nice to finally get on the top three, but I can't look past race 2 at the moment.
Yeah, well, hopefully you can look past it soon, and we'll see you back at Silverstone next week.
Maybe, yeah. We'll see. Anyway, cheers, guys.
Cheers, see you later.
Bye.
Next up, we will drag in Ash Turbo, who podium sitter in both races, managed to get second in race 1 and third in race 2 after a decent drive back to get Stefan Carey in the final stages of that race. So, Ash Turbo, race 1, picking up second. How was that for you?
Hi. The first race was very interesting. I go away with 2 other cars, and I wait to the last laps to attack. But one of was big week that has a very high peak. I could try to overtake in the last lap, but his car shooter a lot, and I think we contact, so I give up and finish second.
Yeah, we called out at the end there. I think Big Will compromised his entrance, and then you couldn't carry your speed through, and he blocked your path pretty much to stop you from getting that victory. But to race 2, sorry, picking up the third place after chasing down Stefan Carey towards the end. Decent finish overall this week.
Yes, in the second race I received a pump from behind in the first laps, and that made me spin, and I got some damage in the rear. So when I went to the pits, I repaired it and exit the pit far away from the top guys. I tried to recover as much, but I finally got the third position. That's a very good result for the ship.
Yeah, so good racing there, and we got Silverstone next week. Are you looking forward to Silverstone?
Never raced how it go.
I think you just cut out there, but congratulations on your second and third, and we'll see you next week.
You.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll bring in Ticklish Picklewickle, who managed an 8th place in race 1, and unfortunately had to retire from race 2. But let's focus on the positives again. It seems a lot of people had a negative race 2, but we'll talk about race 1. How was that race for you?
I had a very fun race, race 1. No like insane result with the eighth place. I basically ended where I started, so I'm happy with it. So I didn't lose any positions compared to where I qualified. But yeah, like pretty much from start to finish, I was just very close battling. I think we had a 5 or 6 man train at some point as well, which was very fun. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have any crazy things going on, but it was just nice, close, fun racing in race 1. So I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it's going from the enjoyment of race 1 to the disaster of race 2. Just talk us through the short existence that was race 2 for you.
Well, it was certainly an eventful first lap. In my opinion, maybe too eventful. I think I had three or four instances of 3 wide in the first lap. It was both stressful and, I mean, through like all of them except one went fine, but the last one, uh, to be honest, like from the cockpit view, I didn't really have any. I couldn't really see what was like what exactly happened, but I think it was something like we were basically 3 wide and I was in the middle, and I think I was basically just squeezed from both sides, and my car didn't really know where to go, so it just went up into the air, and I lost both my front and my rear wing, and I also got massive suspension damage. So I was just crawling around with like 50 kilometers per hour for a whole lap, and it turned out that I also had a lot of radiator damage, which I didn't really realize until I was like very close to the pits. And suddenly the engine damage just started like quickly rising. I couldn't really do anything about it. I just had to hope that I would make it. But about 10-15 meters before my pit box, my engine blew, and I was hoping that I could roll into the pit box with no engine, but nope, that was not possible. So I had to retire there because I couldn't go any further. So yeah, very unfortunate situation.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate for you, but hopefully you can look past that and look towards Silverstone next week. Quite a fun little track, Silverstone, quite popular with the people. How are you feeling about it?
I mean, I like Silverstone. It's a very very classic one. So yeah, I mean, it's a very suited track for single seaters, I think, and these are not very fast single seaters. So there's gonna be a lot of slipstreaming as there was tonight, because there are a lot of not like insanely long straights, but there are a lot of like medium long straights around here. So it's kind of like a medium long straight and then into a section of corners and then a medium long straight again. So I definitely think much of the overtaking is going to be done in the slipstream of other people, which seems to be a very strong thing in these cars. But yeah, I'm going to enjoy it. We're definitely going to be hurting with some dirty air because of all the medium and fast corners on the track. That's part of the charm of open wheel racing, in my opinion.
It is indeed, and Silverstone being a nice wide track as well. Hopefully it can be a bit cleaner than the race 2 was tonight. Not that it was terrible, just the opening laps. A few deaths happened, but Silverstone, fast, wide, perfect for these cars, I believe. So it's good talking to you, and we'll see you next week at Silverstone.
You guys just.
And last but certainly not least, we have Keyboard Blondie managing to pick up 7th place in that race 2. Unsure where you finished in race 1. How was race 1 for you, Keyboard Blondie?
Hi, it was bad race. I had a good pace. I qualified very high in ice, but I spun twice and then I hit Mr. Ferret. He spun right in front of me and I couldn't avoid him. Lost front wing, had to pit.
That's unfortunate to hear, but you don't want to be doing that, especially in the sprint race. But seemed to get over that quite quickly for race 2 and got yourself up to 7th place. That's quite a good result for you.
Yeah, I started from 15th. I knew that I have a really good pace in the dry, but I might not have good pace in wet, so I pushed. I was a bit aggressive in the first laps, and it turned out very well for me.
Yeah.
My wet pace was a bit better as I thought as well. The speedy car was catching me like half a second per lap, and
Yes, Speedy goes in a different class. To be fair, he started at the back both times and managed to get himself up to the 5th, 6th positions, but race 1 unfortunately lost it, but race 2 finishing 5th. But got to be happy with that result after the terrible race 1 to get yourself into 7th place, and a good load of points for you ready for next week at Silverstone.
yeah, this was my last race with gamepad. From next week I will be running with the wheels, so maybe not from the next week I will be faster, but I will get used to it, and it should go even higher.
Yeah, hopefully you can adapt to it quite quickly. I remember going from a gamepad to a wheel, it's a night and day difference, and it makes the whole thing so much more enjoyable. So hopefully we'll see you next week with your shiny new wheel and battling again and trying to pick up those points for the season. Congrats on your result, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, see you.
And that is it for our interviews tonight, and that will round up our Red Bull Ring Grand Prix round 3 of the Formula C League here with AOR. Any words that you want to add, JP?
Any words? Absolute fantastic stuff from the, and I'm not being biased, but from the Celtic Lamb Bromance driver of Martin. I can't praise him enough for the strategy call that he did to stay out the extra lap to gain the time that he needed to jump the his 3 opponents to get the lead of the race. It was absolutely fantastic stuff. A lot of guys would have been too scared to chance it, but he chanced it, and he made the setup work to inevitably win the race. That's what got him the win.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic stuff.
Like he said in the interview, he could have come in the pits right behind, but all that would have done is him come out right behind. So he took the chance, took an extra lap, and got out ahead and just pulled away. So fantastic there by WMDR Martin. But that will do it from us. Over and out. And we are leaving you with this message from JP McKinley.
See you all next week, and hope you enjoyed the racing. And yeah, that's us for until Silverstone. See you next week.
Goodbye.